people coming in. Wonderful. Hello, welcome. Is there a chair? There's a chair here. Okay, very good. Okay, and you can also use the radiator. Welcome to 440 on this warm afternoon.
I would lock the door.
We're here to celebrate this wonderful show, Artistic Muscles, and to talk with the curator and some of the artists who are involved. I'm Ellen Schuss. I'm one of the artist members of 440 Gallery, and I'm officially filling in for Karen Gibbons, who is in Berlin. So Karen and I worked on this together. First, I'd like to introduce Christina Massey, who is our curator. Before I do that, just to say that I'll be asking each of the artists some questions that they can answer in any way they would like. If you have questions from the artists, if you would just hold on to them. And after everyone has spoken, you are welcome to ask your questions, and we can explore things for as long as you like. Okay? Great. So Christina Massey is an artist and an independent curator, and she's had over a decade of experience curating exhibitions that focus on and highlight underrepresented female artists. And in 2016, she founded Raw Art, a platform dedicated to promoting the work of female identifying artists through social media and curating exhibitions. She is an artist in her own right, but her curatorial projects have been displayed in all kinds of prestigious venues, such as the Huntington Art Museum, Court Street Collective, and several other galleries. And she's been featured in Art Net News and ABC News, a whole range. And she herself has exhibited widely. She's also recently been awarded a Paul Krasner Foundation grant and an assignment fellowship at the EFA Robert Blackburn Printmaking Workshop. So she brought a lot to this. So we have some questions, and first of all, Christina, congratulations on an amazing show. You have curated a beautiful show. And my very first question for you is, what inspired the concept for this show? I mean, what exactly do you imagine artistic muscle to be? Because most of us were like, what? So please
I feel
explain.
there might be a little bit of that response, but when I was approached about the open call, I was told I got to pick a theme, which is kind of exciting. And so I was looking back through the history of what have other people done as themes and making sure I'm not being repetitive. And for me, what I love about open calls is I love when they can really inspire the artist to be creative themselves and how they interpret and approach the theme. So those tend to be my favorite because it makes more of a variety, and as a curator you get to see a lot more different styles and types of things that come in. So I was looking at the dates of the show and I realized the Olympics opens that while we have a show up, and so that turned to a little more research, and I realized that they used to do awards for the arts with the Olympics in architecture, art, design, all these different things. And I thought that would be a really fun summer show. I love sports myself, so I thought it would be a really fun interpretation to see how artists would say, hey, this is how I use my body, this is how I see my muscles being flexed, so to speak.
That's great, thank you. That actually, you mentioned the Olympics, obviously, but you said that did you just say that you liked sports a lot, you were involved in sports, and many of these pieces are clearly related to sports and athletics, but some of the others' choices are much more abstract. So can you talk about your method of selection?
Yes, well, like I said, I was really hoping for a variety. I was hoping that artists would take this theme and interpret it in a whole breadth of ways, and I kind of got everything I was hoping for, from the abstract to the more representational, using actual items of painters or runners, etc. So I really was hoping for a wide variety that might touch on actual athletics to how does the body move, and like this piece is such a muscle memory. Your body has to be trained to make that movement, right? So I was interested in having a variety of how this theme could be interpreted in a different way. And another thing I have kind of in the back of my mind is because of the Olympics, I wanted to have little touches of gold, silver, and bronze.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Moses, for providing today. A little gold.
A little gold, yeah.
A little glitter. That's wonderful. And we had hoped to have Verity here for the artist talk because of the particular way that she works, which is so interesting. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it. So you are also an artist as well as a curator. And I'm curious how your work relates to, or doesn't relate to, the work of the curator show.
Yeah, I think if I were to apply for this call, I'd have a hard time, quite frankly. I am somebody who likes sports. Like I said, I played volleyball. I was actually really hoping to have a volleyball piece in the show, but didn't get that submitted. But my work does not necessarily address that. So for me, that's one of the fun things about curating is you get to work outside of your own medium and methods and meet artists who are approaching things in all kinds of different ways. And I find inspiration in different ways that artists work. And for me, on the curator side, that's almost more exciting and more fun to have that opportunity to expand your network and meet people who you might not otherwise. Like I might never be curated next to some of these other artists as an artist myself, so this means I get to work with you in a new way.
If I remember correctly, a lot of your work is constructed.
Yes, yeah.
Which is, of course, very physical. I believe, is it paper or is it another material?
Largely aluminum. I use a lot of
Aluminum.
repurposed aluminum.
Okay.
So
So that takes a lot of artistic wisdom. No, with, plain shoes, aluminum shoes.
yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you. That's a really, really good start on this. So I think I'll go, Matt, we'll go to you next. Matt Logsdon, is it my pronunciation?
Logsdon, yeah.
Logsdon, great. Congratulations to you, Matt, for your inclusion in artists. And we'd love to hear what your take is on the concept and what made you submit this particular piece.
Thank you very much, Ellen. And I'd like to thank 440 for having me on the show this evening. It's a great show. I'm very excited to be here. I have been a personal trainer for over 2 decades, and when I was much younger, I competed as a drug-free bodybuilder. So strength training has been a big part of my life, and it's had a heavy influence on my art. So I was really excited to see the theme for the show, and definitely want to be part of it. And speaking to the Olympics that at one point had art as awarded medals in art, there was a Times article I think in May that covered that really well. And when that was the first that I had found out about that. So I was pretty excited to hear about that there was this overlap, because it's a big part of my belief system of wanting to champion both the body and mind. And that was the founder of the modern Olympic Games. That was his vision, which of course isn't present anymore, unfortunately. But I run a small gallery down the street at 9th and 2nd called Field of Play. And it has a similar mission in its existence, and we had a show in May called, it was a sculpture holding contest. So I think there's a good conversation happening here between the show and the show that we put on in May. And I think as far as, there's a lot of ways that I think we can literally interpret the physicality of making art. My work is fairly physical. I tend to gravitate towards that just because of my interest in the body, and I like that engagement type of art making. But I think philosophically there's also a pretty good overlap in athletics and sports. there's a talk that I really like from an artist, Paul Chan, who gave a talk at the Whitney about Rachel Harrison's show. I think it was like 2018, but he talks about the art, the phrase like the art of something or other, like the art of basketball is an example that he used in speaking to, reaching the pinnacle of your field. And I think that, speaking to basketball players, for example, like, or speaking to, the goal of being an artist isn't to, learn how to make someone else's art and perfect that. It's really about taking your experience, your lived experience, your skill set, your knowledge, and trying to bring that forward into, whatever would be the ideal form of your unique art. And I think playing sports is actually really similar to that. Like each, speaking to basketball players, like each basketball player has a very unique skill set, and it's about honing their craft to take how they understand basketball and what their physical skill set is, and trying to make their brand of basketball like the best that it can be. So I think philosophically, there's a lot of overlap here. My specific piece that I decided to submit is titled Milo Croton 2, which is from a series of works by the same name that I made. And it's about Milo Croton is a famous Greek wrestler who won, I think, 6 Olympic gold medals for wrestling from 540 to 512 BC, so very long time ago. But that's like an unheard of feat because it meant that he started winning when he was a teenager, and I think was still winning into his 50s. He's famous for many other things, but I think most notably like his feats of strength and like the ways that he trained. So that the story that really I've been fascinated with ever since I heard in my early 20s from a training partner actually who grew up on a farm is one of the training techniques that he used was that he would pick up a baby calf every day, and then eventually he could lift a full-grown cow or a bull, right? Which is actually the foundation of like modern weight training. It's called progressive overload. That you just add more and more weight, you stimulate the muscle more, and then you get stronger. Which is not really that simple, but that is sort of the foundation. I was fascinated by that idea, and for most of us, I think, most humans, the experience of one day being able to lift that calf or a small cow, and then the next day not being able to, and like that weird slippage in time where the growth of the animal is moving faster than the growth of your strength. Or for us parents out there, like, you pick up all your children and they grow and they grow, and I think, for most of us there's a point in which we can no longer pick them up.
Or you can, but the cost is great.
That's right.
As you feel your
That's right. So,
I have a question. I think that you're sort of going towards some of my things. You guys. Oh, okay.
sure.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I know, and it's pathetic in terms of cooling the air, but it's worse if we don't have it. So just yes. To say that this is a mixed media piece doesn't do justice. You've got an inner tube, weaving, painting, and quilting, all contributing to the whole. It has a presence as a constructed object, yet it reads as a painting as well. So tell us more about your intentions and process in creating this bold piece, and then also, I think where you were going is how this weaves into the story.
Sure. So I became obsessed with the idea of building a painting years ago, and after experimenting with a lot of different things, this series is something that I've really felt attached to. I'm accomplishing a lot that I want with it. It's very sculptural. It has ready-made objects included in it. The bite tube, which is filled with air and compressing the central, if you want to call it painting, within the frame. So, not only sculptural materials, but also like a sculptural quality of pressure, I think, which like isn't always associated with painting, even though I think actually, if you stretch a canvas, there's definitely tension and pressure there that we just take for granted. But in this case, I think it's made much more obvious. And then it has other elements of, like the quilting, like you said, and the built frame. So I like bringing in materials that I think have, and different processes of making that tend to be gendered. Even though I don't subscribe to that, I think that that's the reality of how we often read these different materials. And that's my approach to art making in this time when I think, it's about addressing the complexity of being a human, a time period where we're no longer working in a binary way of thinking. And my objective is to bring all of these things together and show that they can coexist.
I think you've done it very successfully. Very successfully. So carry on.
Thank you. Oh, well, I think it specifically relates to the body and the way that the bike tube is full of air and compressing, which is, we're all breathing beings full of air. And more specifically, when, one is going to lift an object or apply force to something, there's a breathing and a bracing, which is something I spend a lot of time thinking about in my work as a trainer and in my own training. And so, that's I think an important element in this piece, in the way that it's holding itself together, and that it also therefore requires maintenance, much like the body and caretaking.
So in your statement, and even today earlier, you referred to a very specific story that inspired this piece. Is that something that runs through your work? Does your other work tell stories in the same way? And how does this piece fit in with your larger artistic efforts?
Sure. I've made some other works that deal with pressure and compressing a central painting within a frame, using some other objects like tennis balls, so there's still sport references there. But this one specifically, or this series specifically with Milo Croton is it's kind of unique in that sense, like where I'm working with a story that is, well known and established, like separate from my own experience. The rest of my work tends to work from my personal history and deal a lot with relationships. Working from taking fabric from people that were important in my life that has a story to it, or experiences with family members that have to deal with the way belief systems are passed down, and that influences your approach or your outlook to the world. So this one, this series is a little bit, it's more specific in that sense, but others are more personal.
Well, we're not finished yet, but I would encourage you all to explore the websites of the Curator and all of the artists in the show, because it's quite fascinating. Thank you, Matt. And now,
I left my bag over here.
Okay.
I didn't think I needed anything in it.
she needs something for you.
But
Okay.
I do.
Miss Muscles travels with her.
What?
That's okay. Miss Muscles, also known as Barbara Luliner. But we'll call you Miss Muscles. That's okay.
Oh, thank you.
Your muscles seen here are certainly unique. Tell us about your take on artistic muscle.
What? Need I say more? Need I say more?
Well, you may say more.
So, I will. So, not only am I well endowed in this department, but I'm also endowed with friends who suggested, who came to me and said, Barbara, there's a show you should be in, Artistic Muscles. And I didn't quite see it because as Ms. Muscle, I'm a street performer. It's not like I make something. I did make these are paper mache. They're pretty old. I'm ready for a boob job, but that's another story. So I'm out on the street. I have been doing this since about 2008, and one of the first things I did was be at an event to celebrate the opening of the women's wing at the Brooklyn Museum, and so I was the MC, and it was, so I do slogans. It was like, it's power, it's power, it's power through the flower, because that was, Judy Chicago, or, through the flower. And, so things would happen where I would feel called to be, to like put on my muscles. I also marched in the Gay Pride Parade the year that New York State said that marriage between people of the same gender was okay. So, and I was with a group there, and we all had T-shirts that said, "God loves all her people." So I just felt like really great being part of that. So these are, so getting back to this show, like how can I be part of a show that's, like a gallery show? Oh my God. So this past March, I put on a lot of big effort to celebrate Women's History Month as Ms. Muscle. I went to several openings as Ms. Muscle. I was part of the Every Woman's Biennial. I greeted everyone who came to the opening there. I did a performance there about embrace yourself with Ms. Muscle. We had a series of exercises and gathered our energy and then used our energy to love ourselves. So one of the things that I did was go to the Shah Gard Foundation Making Her Mark exhibit. Are you familiar?
Yes.
It was a phenomenal exhibit of women artists from around the world, strong, big work, bold work, and mostly abstract. I asked them if I could do a photo shoot there, and they got back to me and said yes. So that's where the photograph is from, in front of a Howardina Pindell's piece in the background. So I basically was, like cheering for all of the work there, and applauding and whoa, powerful work, yay women. So that's how my artistic muscle, got here. One of the things also I just want to say about artistic muscle, that this initiative in March that I did, the thing that I feel most excited and proud about is that I did a walk to the 6 monuments in Manhattan that depict historic women. So to celebrate Women's History Month, I celebrated women who made a difference in history. And also it brought up the fact that there aren't that many, compared to the hundreds of monuments to men, there are only, 6. People came with me, some people joined at the monuments, came as Ms. Muscle, so in terms of artistic muscle, I feel like I want to put my muscle into ideas and thoughts that feel important. I feel where I can, get people to think about things or bring to light different ideas. And even my silly slogans are full of, thought. I mean, I think, as Matt was saying, life is pretty complex, and there's a lot of nuance and complexity. And when you see someone who looks like me, it's like, what is going on here? And it kind of, I think it opens up the door. And some of my slogans, like one of my favorite is, love is a muscle. Work it. Work it.
Well, that's wonderful, thank
Oh.
you. But
Oh.
I just want to say, yes, we're
Okay.
not done with Miss Muslims.
Oh.
You know, looking at your bio, this photo represents a sliver of the work that you do. Your artistic repertoire is quite broad. So tell us about your approach to art making beyond your performance art and music skills.
Yes, yeah, well, okay.
You're
so
more than
that-
just
okay,
your muscles.
We'll let Barbara out, so. So, you know, Barbara Luliner, the artist that, you know, shares my body, is like many of you, likes to look at things, likes to make things, likes to be by themselves, create, and so her work that was the first work that she felt was mature work, that was about her own experience and giving a spin to it, was a series of feminist sculptures about so big, and that's what I needed here. So, so this is, can you see? Okay, yeah, okay, so this is the, one of the original sculptures.
What material?
This is cast cement. First I made it in clay, and then cast it into cement. And then, oh, and here's the other one I want to show. Can you see this one? It's called Suckling Tower, with breasts all over it. So these works were informed by my experience of giving birth, being a mother, and as Matt was saying, like being in a body, you know, like, oh my God, how, you know, like growing a child inside and feeling like a female mammal, feeling, you know, connected to, you know, generations of women.
Because you are.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, but you don't think about that. I didn't think about that. So anyway, but just cutting to the chase. So this body of work, you know, was the most meaningful to me, and I think that it connects with everything about how I do make work, and because I've gone on from that. You know, I started to do welding to make stands and pedestals for this work, and I thought, oh my gosh, it's too much fun. So I started making welding and found objects, and I thought, oh, I love found objects. I did a whole bunch of things with plastic bottles, you know, outdoor installations, and you know, found cardboard. Then I also use slide sleeves that, you know, use the little compartments to put colors in. You know, just sort of, you know, some people might say that I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I'm really an anti-disciplinary artist. I stole that from somebody else. So it's been, you know, like very, very varied. But everything I do is about personal experience and my own feeling and reaction, and bringing to it this idea of, like, you know, sort of like as a mother, you know, like really, you know, observing, recognizing, caring, understanding, trying to nurture, bringing about like a deeper understanding, you know, making a connection. So I think I bring that kind of sensibility to everything, and so that's that. But the other thing I just want to say is that I also like to make it funny, in case you didn't know.
So finally, I'd like to hear Ms. Gensler, what's next for you? What is your next
Well,
non-discipline?
okay, so actually next Thursday I have prints. I've been doing, I forgot to mention, I've been doing printmaking for about five years now, and I'm in a group show at the Curator Gallery, and with it will have my prints. And then at the end of August, I'm in a big group show at the West Beth Gallery that will have prints as well as my flower lips, which are paper relief sculptures that are like vulvas. And they were in one of Christina's other shows, which was really exciting. And then what I'm planning, the walk that I did in Manhattan, it was a 6-mile walk, covered a lot. I plan to do that again, but I also plan to do walks in every borough of the city to monuments to women. There's just one big problem. There aren't any. The first public monument in Brooklyn is actually under construction now. Shirley Chisholm. And so what I would like to do is find partners and people willing and interested to find important women-oriented places or spaces to walk from and eventually end up at the Shirley Chisholm site. So I invite you to let me know if you're interested, and maybe for gallery will be on part of the tour.
I do believe that there is now a statue in Winston down at City.
Yes. Now, the thing is that this is like it's not public. I know. That's, in other words, public, that it was funded by the city, owned by the city. But we can celebrate her. Yes, definitely.
Thank you so much. Matt, do you have any shows coming up or anything that you want to mention?
I don't have anything personally, but yeah, in September we'll be returning at Field of Play Gallery with the show.
Where did you say you're from?
It's 9th and 2nd. Yeah, we're neighbors. We're kind of new.
So we're going to have to go down. What's the actual address?
It's 56 2nd Avenue.
Oh, okay. All right, because I pass it on the way to my studio all the time, going down that street.
And we're in principals.
Right around the corner. Yeah, right around the corner. That's right.
Good. And Christina, how about you? Do you have work in shows now, or are you curating other shows, or do you have things coming up?
I have a lot of things actually. So my own work right now, I just took down 2 shows, so sorry you missed those 2, but there's work up at the Pelham Art Center right now for my friend Charlotte, who unfortunately passed away a year ago. It's kind of a memorial style show. I'm in a group show down at, it's called Botanica at Gallery Lucida, which is a new space down in Red Bank. And I have a really long-term installation up just north of Times Square, 750 7th Avenue. You can just go in and say you want to see the art. It'll be up until December of 2024. And an installation coming up on 5th Avenue in September. Curatorially, I have a project in the works, but I don't know about it yet. So you'll just have to wait.
Well, this has been wonderful, but I'm sure you have questions. So what questions do you have for the artists about anything that they've said about the work that they do, the work that you see of theirs? Anybody?
I was thinking that young girls would benefit so much by your project. And have you had any chance to expose the whole mission to the younger set?
My granddaughter came on part of the march. She went from Joan of Arc all the way to Harriet Tubman. So, but I would love to find people that would love to get girls involved. Yes, but so far it's been just that one family connection.
Yeah.
Are you excited that Kamala Harris may be your next president? Or first woman president?
Are you?
I'm excited. I'm supporting her. I don't know if you've written your line and stepped down today.
I heard, yes, I heard that, and all I can say about that is we need more women leaders. You know, I think that one of the things that's, I think that you can't say like every woman, but the idea that we're like Ruth Bader Ginsburg had said, like we're negating half of our population by not having women, in leadership roles. So I don't want to get into a political thing of the strategies. I love your piece here in the show. I don't know if people know, Pat Dowman has blue waves that you can wear on your arms. And
I was inspired by you, right?
Yeah, I saw that great show at Sean Art, the women artist that big show that you mentioned, and the Howard David Pindell is the backdrop there. I was wondering if you had a special connection that you felt for that particular. I happen to love her. I think she's a fabulous artist, and I was just wondering if there was, if that was a deliberate choice.
I have to say, the photographer, Paul Takayuchi, was amazing. Her work has like incredible energy, coming from it. But I was also like, how sometimes you get kind of high, just, I just kind of felt like high, so,
Well, she uses, her materials, accumulation of them, but I think of as very feminine, like sparkles and glitter, sequins, and just the whole process of accumulation as just sort of an interesting background to everything.
yeah, it had a lot of energy.
Just aesthetically.
I also wanted to just,
I love to it. Like you had you in front of it as well. Yeah, it's really nice.
I don't think you say that again.
So in the image, it has this kind of fleshiness feel to it. So, as an artwork in itself, the photograph, I thought was an excellent choice because you're not competing, you're complementing. Right.
And that's the brilliance of the photographer who said, "Your day's gonna be confused. Come over here."
Yeah,
Because you were so overwhelmed by all of it.
Yeah, he was wonderful. And he was having a ball.
Well, Kevin will.
I'm just going to say, and I just wanted to comment on that piece. There's something so enigmatic about it, the disparate elements, and it takes a while for you to sort of unpack what's happening there. I found that I could stay with that for a long time. I didn't, know the background or your history, but I just want to say I really liked that aspect.
You're a quilter.
Yes, and I was, yes, yeah, right, yes, so that's of course what drew me in first. But then realizing that that's an intertune, and then that it's rap, that the tension that is happening, and then the valve was
Now I figured that out. It's like,
yeah.
Okay.
I just want to ask, because you're both athletes and artists, do you find that's an unusual combination? Because we don't really think of athletes and artists in the same friend group, or, so just if you could talk on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is a lot of overlap. I think that there's just that, assumption or the general idea, like you're saying, that people that are creative tend to not be interested in, athletics. And, it's something that I've talked about quite a bit because it's, deals with my interest or, the mission of my space. And the more people I talk to, of course, the more I'm surprised where people, so many artists are like, oh, well, I used to play this sport or that sport, or I'm interested in this, that. So I think that it's actually a lot more common than I'm assuming most of us, assume. But yeah, there's just this general idea that, personally, I'm very interested in changing, because when I do think about the trope of the artist as like, you know, the starving artist, or there's so many artists that their personal history that's been mythologized by MoMA and everything is tragic, right? Because it's like, well, what a captivating story. I mean, but I hate that for young artists, like that's the model that they're given, that they're like, oh well, I should aspire to be like that if I'm, you know, to be like Francis Bacon or like Basquiat, or, you know, like.
Yeah, I feel like Hollywood hasn't yet had the artist who's also athlete.
We need that movie.
We need that movie. I think there's a certain percentage of the population that is interested in athletics that are in the sports oriented, right? But there's also all the outdoor sports. There's all those just personal exercise that kind of is a bit more broad, right? But there's also just, you know, I knew kind of going into this there might be some of those people who get a little bit like, well, I'm not an athlete, but you know, there's so many artists I know who run, they swim, they dance, yoga, all those things that do take body and movement, and just the act of creation can be extremely laborious on the body, but also artists are some of the most competitive people I know. So there's a lot more of love, yes, I agree.
I also want to say that I see a trampoline. I don't know if you follow
Oh,
that.
sure.
I was thinking the that's the last advance and keep you from falling through. So that's for the athletic. I saw that in there, which reminded me of Nick.
Yeah, I totally can see that.
There was also in years, there was just in the kind of grid aspect, there's this almost like a game board or a field that I thought really made some nice relationships to some of the other work. And thinking of that in terms of another way that you're using the mind in this competitive kind of way. So I like the way that had that relationship with some of the other pieces, just curatorially.
So I just,
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to say more about the idea of artist athlete, that you know, artwork, you know, going with that myth of, you know, like the starving, you know, depraved artist, who, you know, whatever, that to make artwork takes a lot of grit, you know, physicality, many sculptures, physicality, and so the idea of like taking care of yourself, you know, not so much that you have to, you know, be athletic and, you know, training, but that you need to work on your flexibility. You need to, you know, keep yourself active, and just as Ms. Muscle would say, just be your best, be your biggest and best self.
I wanted to, Matt, I was taken by what you had to say about the materials and the way that, you know, we're at a time where gender is more fluid, and I'm old enough to remember a time when the kinds of things, you know, using fabrics or sewing or any of that was, you know, absolutely, you could not. I mean, that would just have relegated you into, you know, the basement of consideration. Yeah. And now you, as identifying as male, I guess, yeah, feeling free to use things, you know, that are, you know, associated. Some of them are gender fluid, but some of them are very much associated with women and women's work and women's artwork, because women channel their artistic expression into their quilt making and their, you know, embroidery, things that were acceptable at that time. So to me, it's just fascinating, because I really do remember when, you know, in art school 60 years ago, where someone, a painter could say, well, there are no great women artists. I mean, it's just like,
Crazy.
yeah, it was very different. And I have, okay, at the risk of, I remember someone telling a story about, you know, a bunch of, you know, painters in the 50s and 60s talking about how they painted for their walls, you know.
Oh,
and
right.
But the woman who was in the group said, well, I do too. They're just fine. So I was hoping hoping that that was an attributable quote to somebody. And don't overboard, and it's not. But I heard the story, and yes. And I knew those people, so at that time. Any other questions? I mean, this is such a rich, yes, please.
Yeah, I guess along those lines of what we were just talking about, is I guess mainly from Matt, okay? Talking about the comparison between an artist and an athlete, and how an athlete needs to practice and kind of find through their own experience and who they are, how their bodies are, and how their situations are, how to match that up with what is going to be the best on the playing field. I'm wondering if there's, you see any correlation to kind of making the jump between art and craft? So kind of blending these two conversations in, because that C word, craft, is a loaded thing. So do you try to use, I'm wondering if you use that much, or if you use it cautiously? There's just
Yeah, that's enough for me to work with.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very interested in a hierarchy of like ways of making and materials, which I think, craft, that's what we're talking about, right? Craft, I think, is still, and textile work is still, for most of the way it's spoken about, lower on the hierarchy than painting. I mean, painting is at the top, right? It's starting to change, absolutely. Yeah, but that's something that I'm really interested in from my personal experience of like coming from a blue collar family and just being connected to ways of working with the hands and the body, and therefore feeling like you're just a different class, and it's a similar hierarchy, and we're talking about textile or whatever type of making. I think I've always, of course, been very interested in painting, and I feel invested in painting, but for me, like, I get hung up on the history of like painting being this like, extravagant object that's created for, the wealthy elite. I mean, that's like its long running history, right? I mean, there's a lot of painting that doesn't do that, but I think there's so much of it that does, that I was just like, I don't want to be a part of that conversation. I don't want to make work that, using materials that deals with that conversation. I want to make work with materials that I have a personal connection to and address like that. Yeah, there is this hierarchy of materials, and
it's interesting thinking about from an athlete's point of view, an athlete like honing their craft, like whether if it's a basketball player, the craft, maybe the craft is dribbling, but then to take it to, if you want to have a hierarchy of craft is below art, then the art is making that craft like customized to yourself, like how your work responds, taking it to the next level. So, but that's looking at it like a hierarchy. So
it's true. Yeah.
it's something that I'm thinking about. Anyway, it's a heavy thing.
Anyone else with a question, comment? Awesome. Yes, please.
I just wanted to say that I think that athletes and artists go through the same experience as they're trying to refine their work, of, as artists say, going in the zone. So athletes do that too. They're trying to get their situation finer and finer and finer, and that's a deep concentration and a real understanding of their goal and their focus, and that's what artists do, So I think in that sense, they're very similar, and it makes a lot of sense to me to have the show, because it is the same, it's the same exercise.
I just have to say, I'm a member here at the gallery, and I was one of the people that installed the show. But right from the beginning, when the call came out and it was titled an artistic vessel, as Alex said, yeah. And then coming and seeing the work that we chose for the show was like
weeks, you know? And it's just like, wow, so there is light. And so thank you so much. I've enjoyed this so much. I'm so glad I came over.
Anyone else, anything you want to add?
I was just wondering, actually, Christina, if you had anything to say about this year, because we were talking about artists with maybe different
Yeah, unfortunately, she couldn't.
Yeah, and it's it's being there like as abstract as it is. It's a little bit maybe there's more there than I can.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a nice opposite of yours in terms of it's very minimal, right? I was attracted to it not only for the process because your body has to make that mark, especially the size that it is. You have to practice that. You have to
Because
have
she
it.
makes it continuously.
It's a continuous climb. So there's something just very performative almost and muscle memory in making that mark. I also just loved that it had this circular type form, again going back to that kind of Olympics type of theme. But that was really the process of how she makes it that I was really interested in because that was really a great example of using the body and not in this kind of way, but in a broader. Yeah.
It's also very beautiful.
Yes, yes. And I wanted to ask her about the blue, because I want to know how that occurred. It'll just be a mystery.
I can give you her email.
Okay. Anyone else with anything?
I will just add to that, she has an alternate way that she sometimes shows that piece, which we put it on the wall because that's the way it fits the space the best. But she also has it laying flat, so that in that positioning you really get that physicality. And if only it would fit in our tiny little space.
Thank you.
Did you have a question?
Not a question, just I guess hearing about that piece and thinking about art and athletics, it's sort of like the training to be able to do that in one swoop, and how I guess from my point of view, in this performance of honoring and celebrating these women artists at Jacques Art, that there's sort of like this that you feel viscerally like the energy in a piece of work. I mean, and that it's the same thing like when you watch an athlete, who like jumps that high bar. It's almost like inside you feel like you're doing it too. So that that's all. That just the connection with the enjoyment of the outcomes.
The physical act of making it's very physical. I just wanted to mention that this show continues through August 2nd, I believe. Then 440 Gallery is closed, but we reopen on September 5th, which is a Thursday. And Joy Mappin, her solo show, near and far, of her well-crafted watercolors. And the opening reception will be that Thursday, September 5th, from 5 to 7. Everyone is invited. Children, dogs, everything. Okay. The artist talk for that will be Sunday, September 22nd at 4:40 here in the gallery. And in the project space, Lee Blanchard, Susan Greenstein, and me, the three of us will be showing the work that is now in the show at Berlin. So we decided, why not show it in the project space? So Echoes of Berlin will be in the project space during that time. And I also wanted to mention, for anyone who's interested, 440 currently has a call out for artist members. So if you go to our website, you can see the responsibilities and the benefits and all of that. If you've thought about becoming a member of an artist run gallery, and we will be having our 20th anniversary show in January. So we will have been here for 20 years. No small feat.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks to our landlords. artists. Those of you who also have work in the show, can you let us know?
Please stand up and
Yeah.
introduce yourself.
Okay, Ward. This is Ward's work over here, and
Yes, Blue Waves.
the Blue Waves.
I have the green and red painting scooters.
Oh, wonderful, great, good. So take this advantage to speak with the artists about their work, look at the show, and if anybody has any questions, Amanda's here, I'm here, some of the other gallery members, we're here to try to answer them. So, good, thank you so